Anyways, let's get now into the games. What have you guys been playing? Greg, you were saying you actually played a new game that you were excited to talk about. Please tell me it's a game that came out this year.
Apex Legends. No, I'm
It's
just
not
kidding.
you.
Even though I did just get my ninth win of the season so far. So
Congrats.
definitely stepping into, like, I can tell I'm getting better. But aside from Apex Legends, I've been playing Age of Calamity. And
Ooh. On hard
really
or
liking it.
normal mode?
Just on normal mode. But
call.
I feel like I could jump to hard.
Don't do it.
Okay, I will say the best thing about the game, hands down, is like the combat is just so easy to pick up. At least for like, Mifa, Link, Zelda. Like, I feel like, a lot of the characters are like the controls transfer.
Yeah, no spoilers, guys, on this game. Just FYI, but keep going.
Okay, yeah, and I do like how each of them plays, how they feel very different but very similar, especially with, like, the Sheikah Slate attacks and stuff like that. And I've been having a lot of fun actually, like, going through the weapons and like fusing them together to try and, like, build the perfect weapon. And so far I just have like a level 30 tree branch that I've been laying waste to everything, which is like really cool because, like, it's so funny. You see it in the cutscenes, and just little stuff like that is enjoyable.
I got to put more time into the fusion system. I don't think I'm doing it right. I'm just taking a weapon and then fusing everything else in my inventory in the hopes that something good happens. But I know that there is actually like if you pick specific weapons, they all have different attributes that you can actually optimize properly. I've been too lazy to dig into it. If you do hard mode, I just discovered I've been playing on hard mode this whole time because I set the demo to hard. And then when I bought the game and I started the game, it just took my demo save file and continued. So I never realized I was playing on hard for the last 12 hours. And I made it to a level, and I'm not going to go into the details of the level, but there's just a lot of bosses thrown at you in this level. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, how can they expect, like, normal people to just play this? There's so few healing items. Every attack, like, you can only take 3 attacks before you die. And they just keep coming and dropping things at you. And I'm like, this is stupid. And then I went into the options menu. I was like, oh, this has been on hard the whole time. And then my son was watching too, and he's like, oh, you can play 2-player. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Because in the specific level, you have to play as a certain character, and you can't pick other characters. So one of my, like, tactics when I'm playing in levels, and let's say I'm running low on health, is I'll switch characters. And so if you have 2-3 characters, that's just like 2 to 3 health bars. In this level, you can't do that. But the hack is if you play with 2 players, you then get, the bonus of the strength of 2 players, which is a bit of a hack to get through things. But to your point, I've been flip-flopping on liking it, not liking it as much. But I think once you put away that it's not Breath of the Wild, it's not Hyrule Warriors, it is its own beast, then you can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right there too, because, like, some of the visuals are pretty surprising, especially in larger scale maps, like, or big areas. Like, there's like some of the Divine Beast stuff, like the enemies are just like these, like, blobs of color, and, like, I caught myself noticing that. But this is, like, one of the rare cases where I can look past that, because, like, the combat is at least for me, is fun. So that's what I've been like. I'm like, oh, this is freaking ridiculous. Oh, I'm in this giant thing, launching, fucking lasers or whatever, dropping bombs or splashing lava. But, like, it, I always bring myself back to, like, oh yeah, this is, like, a very different style game. So this is okay. Like, I tell myself, like, oh, this is much different, and, like, so much for this section. Like, the other part's still fun.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because I was playing on hard, but there's a lot more emphasis on the combat, especially with, like, I noticed. So in Hyrule Warriors, you could easily stack up your KOs to 3,000-4,000 KOs. In fact, to get your gold medals, you needed, I think, I don't remember, it was 2,000 or something. In this game, it's really hard to actually go over 1,000 KOs. Like, you are not killing a lot of enemies, but you are fighting so many more mini bosses, and you really need to learn their patterns when to dodge. You have to have the reflexes of when to take advantage of their weak points, and like it's a lot more, I think, fighting mini bosses than fighting hordes of enemies, which I think is more what Hyrule, the original Hyrule Warriors, was. But you, Sean, have you been playing it?
Yeah, I beat it in like 2 days.
Oh yeah, you played it overnight.
Yeah, I played it till like 7 in the morning.
How did it live up to you? Because you were a big fan of Hyrule Warriors.
I definitely liked it a lot. It was definitely more story driven. The combat is good. I those performance issues definitely are there though, and especially after playing Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, like it's noticeable. But I think it's strange how it's like a lot of times for me, at least in my playthrough, there was no rhyme or reason. Like sometimes the game would just start hiccuping and there wasn't a lot of shit going on, but then there would be times where there was a lot of shit going on, like, oh, here we go, and then it wouldn't do anything, and I'm like, there's no consistency here. It's a great game, definitely, especially if you like Zelda games. I mean, and you like the lore. The story wasn't all it cracked up to be, but
I find it weak.
I mean, the most interesting thing about the story, without getting into spoilers, would be the Zelda character. I thought she was by far the most interesting character in the game, and probably the most interesting, at least for me, that she's ever been in a game. So that was a nice little treat, nice little bonus.
Yeah, I'll come back to. I do like what they did with the map. I was very worried. I love the adventure map in Hyrule Warriors. I was like, how are they going to give all this extra content considering, the Calamity, there's a set story and a set path. But I really like how they treat it, where you have your world map and you have so much stuff you can do if you don't want to move the story forward. There's challenges and recipes, and there's all these things you can unlock. And the game just keeps on giving. And I'm starting to get to that point. It took a while, but I defined Hyrule Warriors, the original, as one of those games, how you're like, oh, one more, just one more level, like let me get this one more thing. And I felt Age of Calamity was missing that for a good part, but once you hit a certain point in the game, that comes back, and I'm like, oh, there it is, because I'm like, I'll just do one more of these, just one more of these.
It's funny that you bring those up, because I was thinking about those like little missions more and more. Deliver goods to whatever, and you get such and such thing. But I think it does something interesting that like I didn't really acknowledge at first, and that is like you don't spend the entire time, like maybe you find a character that you really like and you're playing, Link the whole experience, and he's like level whatever. But those like little side missions that you can do, they like allow you to keep leveling up those characters that you're not playing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good way to like, at any point, you can bring in another person that, has maybe have to go back through. Because I did this with Zelda. I had to go back in and like fuse slates together because I just had so many piled up. But then I'm like, oh shit, well, she's not even that underpowered now. I'm like, good, she'll do well in a battle then.
Yeah. To Sean's point on performance, I haven't run into I haven't ever run into anything where I'm like, oh, what's happening here? It's getting choppy, and maybe it's not bad enough. And I thought for sure it was going to happen in co-op when I was playing co-op tonight. It was a level with a lot of enemies, a lot of like stuff happening everywhere, split screen. And again, I didn't notice it either. So
yeah,
maybe I just don't have the right eye for it. Or maybe I've been lucky.